So we're going to dig into this today. I'm going to kick it right off with somebody I bet everybody's heard of in the Bible, Noah. Who's heard of Noah? Raise your hand, participate with me, whether you're a church person or not. I think that's every hand. You've heard of Noah. Here's how I know. I bet you can tell me some things about him. Noah built a big... You know what I was thinking? Boat. And at 9 o'clock, everybody said ark too. So now I got to get... The preacher's the only one who missed that. Did anybody say boat? That's what I was saying. Oh, a few of you, but you got overwhelmed by ark, right? It was an ark, which is just really a big boat. All right, so he built a big boat. See, I knew you knew that. Whether you do church or not, or know this story much or not, we know that about Noah. Noah, see, he didn't build, you could have said spaceship or something. You didn't. You said ark. You said boat. All right, Noah filled the ark, the boat, with people, yes, his family, but also, man, y'all already, I don't even have to preach about this. You got it. Right? Yeah, he filled the ark with animals, and it started to rain. There was a flood. And then after the flood, there was in the sky a rainbow. See, y'all know that. Most people know that about the Noah story, but that's kind of where, for a lot of us, it stops. We can't give much more context or understanding than that. And so I want to dig into it a little bit more because I think if you knew Noah a little bit more, you'd be impressed with him. You'd be like, wow. In fact, you'd be challenged by his life and what he did because it was extraordinary what he was able to do, what he accomplished. And I want you to know what Noah did, you can do in your life. That's what this series is about. We want to know that we can do it too. So let's dig into his story a little bit more and find out a little bit more about him and connect it to our lives. So his story is found in Genesis chapter 6, first book of the Bible. It says this. This is the account of Noah and his family. Noah was a righteous man, the only blameless person, I wonder if you knew this, living on earth at the time. And he walked in close fellowship with God. Noah was the father of 3 sons. So what we find out about Noah here is he had a family. But not only that, Noah was a righteous man. That means right. That's the root word there. Walked with God. But what we find out is he was the only person who walked with God. In his village? No, not just there. Yes, there, but not just there. In his country? No, not just there. On the whole what? Earth. The only person that walked with God. When nobody else did it, Noah walked with God. All right, hang on to that because we're going to come back to that in a little bit. The other thing, this is the first book in the Bible, Genesis, and it happened a long time ago. When we think of Jesus, all right, that was about 2,000 years ago. We're in the year 2019. The calendar changed. You have BC before Christ and then AD, right? At the year 0 is, the calendar's changed. So that was about 2,000 years ago. Noah was thousands of years before that. In fact, if you study the Bible a little bit, what you start to find out is the first 11 chapters of Genesis are called primeval history. We don't even have a time for when it was. It was a long, long time ago. Genesis chapter 12, the Abrahamic covenant, things, all of a sudden it starts there. But the first 11 chapters are kind of different. All right, so this is a long, long time ago, before the internet. I know it's hard to imagine. Before social media, no cell phones. I mean, they didn't drive around in vehicles. I mean, this was long, long time ago. All right, so hang on to that thought about Noah and him walking with God and being the only one. It says this, now God saw that the earth had become corrupt and was filled with violence. God observed all this corruption in the world, for everyone on earth was corrupt. Now, I usually, when somebody makes an extreme statement, I'm like, all right, that's extreme. But it's God speaking here, and it says everyone, right, on earth was corrupt. There wasn't anybody. So what we learn is the reason Noah was the only blameless one, and was because no one else was. Everybody else on the earth was corrupt and violent, evil, sinful. I mean, it was a messed up place. I think every generation likes to say, man, it's never been worse than it is now. Yeah, it has. Right then. I mean, there's more than one person walking with God today. In that day and time, it was just Noah, his family, that was it. Right? So it was an evil place, corrupt place. And it says that God sees all this evil and corruption. Then it says this. So God said to Noah, so God speaks, quote, I've decided to destroy all living creatures, for they have filled the earth with violence. Yes, I will wipe them all out along with the earth. This is tough stuff. This is the verse that in our day and time we want to skip over. This doesn't match our idea of who God is, that God is loving and God is this. But what this teaches us is God is sovereign. That means he is over all things. He's in control of all things. One of the commentators I read on this, actually one of my seminary professors, I have 2 commentaries just on the book of Genesis. He wrote so much about Genesis, my professor, that he had to divide it into 2 books because it wouldn't all fit in one. I mean, that's pretty crazy. You want to study the Bible, get some commentaries. I love when people are like, how do I study the Bible more? Get a commentary. All right? It says you can't just read something like this and go, what does that mean, God? I mean, unless you're really special, which most of us, you've got to look at what some people who have really put some study into this said. I'm not saying God's not going to share something with you, but what I am also saying is you got to look at what people who are really smart, really knowledgeable, have filled their heads with and studied the Scriptures, studied Hebrew, the Old Testament, all of this, have to say about it. And so I was reading this, and because I was like, I gotta give y'all a little bit of information here because this is tough, right? This is hard to deal with. Like, what's going on? And what my professor said was, God has feelings. I love that. God was saddened by what he saw when he looked at the earth. And he was so sad that he said, I have to wipe out violence. I have to get rid of evil. There can't be this anymore. It's not God hated people. There's nothing to do with it. God loves people. That's still true. But he said, I've got to wipe out this violence and this evil. Can I share something with you? That God is still God, and he's going to do that again. We like to talk about heaven. We like to talk about someday we're going to heaven, someday. There's no violence in heaven. There's no corruption in heaven. There's only perfection. And for that to happen, all these other things are going to have to be gone. All right? So, yes, you have to hold in tension this idea that God is sovereign and God is loving, and all of that comes together in this verse. But what he was talking about here was getting rid of violence because it just sickened, really, the heart of God. Well, what about Noah and his family? Like, it says he walked with God. Is he going to get wiped out too? Well, see, here's the thing. You guys know about the boat. But if you didn't, you'd be like, what about Noah? What about Noah? If you were just hearing this story for the first time. Well, God says something to Noah. What does he say? Build a large boat, or y'all like the word ark. I should change it. Build a large ark, boat. All right? Build a really, really, really big boat. I'd be like, cool, boat, fishing. I mean, that's not what it's about, right? Build a large boat. This thing's going to be massive. So God commands him to do it. And then God goes on and says, look, I'm about to cover the earth with a flood. Y'all knew that. That will destroy every living thing that breathes. Everything on earth will die, but I will confirm my covenant with you. So enter the boat. Get on the boat. Noah, don't miss the boat. You and your wife and your sons and their wives. Bring a pair of every kind of animal, a male and a female, into the boat with you to keep them alive during the flood. I wish he would have left the roaches off. Amen, but they were there too. So God tells Noah, a big flood is coming. I need you to build a really big boat, and we're going to fill it with every kind of animal and creation on this earth, because here's a word I want to use today. I'm going to use the boat. This is a churchy type word. You may have heard it before if you've been in church. If not, you've maybe heard this word too. It's what's going to save you. the boat. The boat is your salvation. So get on the boat. Don't miss the boat. Be sure that you're on time for the boat. Not only that, get all the animals. And I'm thinking, how did that happen? You ever scratch your head? Your kids might ask you tonight, how do you get all the animals on the boat? Like, have you ever tried to get a cat to go anywhere? A dog, you're like, come on, get on the boat. And they'd be on the boat. Cats, like, come on, cat. You're like picking it up, it's like stuck to your arm. I mean, I don't know how God did this. But man, somehow he did it, and everybody got on the boat. And because it says this, so Noah did everything exactly as God commanded him. Now I'm going to stop there. You can read more of this. There's chapters of Noah's story and what happens with Noah and what God does. And he does do what he says he's going to do. And there's this flood, and Noah is saved, and his family is saved because they're on the boat, right, on the ark, and all these animals are saved. But what I want you to know is that Noah was an ordinary person. He was ordinary. He wasn't superhuman. We think of heroes as like having superpowers, but heroes in the Bible, heroes like Noah, were ordinary people who did extraordinary things because they had an extraordinary God. So Noah was ordinary, but he did something extraordinary. I think that most of us think that what Noah did that was extraordinary was build a really big boat without power tools. Like, they didn't have Home Depot and Lowe's. I mean, I've been there so many times for projects. I always tell them, I always say, hey, you're going to see me again. I'm not sure why, but you'll see me in an hour because I will have not gotten something I need, or I got the wrong thing. And they're like, look at me, and they're like, oh, you're back. I'm like, I told you you'd see me again. Why didn't you I didn't know I needed it, right? He didn't have power tools and drills and chargers. And I mean, Noah built this boat with none of that, with his hands and his family. And so I think we think that what he did was he built a huge boat, and that's extraordinary. And it is extraordinary. Don't miss that. That's crazy. It's extraordinary. But I don't think that's the most extraordinary thing about Noah. In fact, you couldn't connect with the story except here, information about him. Okay, he built a big boat. Wow. Like, what am I going to do? Like, you're not going to build a big boat. That's not what God's calling you to do. But there's something more extraordinary about Noah. That's the heart thing. That's not just the knowledge and information, but is the transformation that's possible for all of us. And you know what I think is so amazing about Noah is that he did something. I'm going to use a phrase here that I'm going to start using for the rest of this message. Noah stayed the course. You ever heard that phrase? Noah stayed the course. What I mean is he kept going in the same direction. And here's the thing. This is what's extraordinary to me about him. Even more than building the boat, as extraordinary as that was, that he did that feat, that he built that thing without power tools and all. I mean, he stayed the course. Check this out. Even when the course became difficult and lonely. If you go back to the first verse that I read, Genesis 6, the first verse, you remember it says that Noah walked with God when no one else walked with God. That, to me, is extraordinary. I have a hard enough time walking with God when I have people encouraging me, and I have a church with me, or I have a small group that's a part of my life, or I have podcasts I can listen to, or I have articles I can read, I have a Bible, I have YouVersion, I have all these things, I have devotionals. He had nothing except God. And nobody else except his family walked with God. And we're not told much about the rest of them. I mean, maybe they were even kind of halfway about it. I don't know. But Noah, it says, walked with God when no one else walked with God. Now, here's the thing. Let's think about that a little bit, because it says the world was evil and corrupt and full of violence, which means there was a lot of temptation. How do you do with temptation when it's around you? What if it came knocking at your door every single day and you didn't have a friend to call to hold you accountable, or say, man, I'm really struggling with this, or will you help me with this? What if you didn't have a small group to go to talk to people about? What if you didn't have a pastor or a church family? What if it was just you walking with God and temptation was coming your way? Can I share with you what I think I would have done? I think I'd have given in to temptation. I mean, anybody have a chink in their armor? I mean, something that you struggle with or have struggled with, and when it comes back to you, you're like, oh man, here it comes. And you want to give into it, but sometimes you have a friend or somebody you can talk to. Noah had none of that. And so I think I'd have given in to temptation because all this evil was around him and he had every opportunity to participate in it. But Noah stayed the course when it was difficult and when he was alone. I mean, that's powerful. So I think I might have given in or maybe at least given up. Like, I'm done. All right, the God thing, I'm done with it. I'm the only one. Nobody else is listening. Nobody cares. You ever feel like that? You put a post on social media, you get no likes. Nobody comments. Well, nobody cares about God. Nobody cares about what I care about, right? Being a little bit sarcastic, but not really. I mean, we all go back and look. Who liked this? Did anybody not like it? Oh, sorry. Somebody put an angry face. What do they mean by that? You know? I mean, do you think you might give up? I've been trying to tell my neighbors about God. Noah's thinking nobody cares. They just keep going off and doing what they're doing, and they're always trying to get me to go along with them. I think I'd have given in or maybe given up. So I think it's extraordinary that Noah stayed the course when other people weren't. When he was the only one. Yeah, building the boat was amazing. But to me, it's staying the course when the course was difficult and when it was lonely. That's so amazing. Do you know what that term staying the course actually means? I mean, you kind of get it because of what I'm saying, but I actually was like, where'd that phrase? I love to find out where phrases came from. I found out that it became kind of popular maybe 20, 30 years ago in politics. I was like, seriously? But you know, somebody famous can make a phrase famous. And so it kind of came from that, but it had already been around. Most people believe its original meaning was a nautical or sailing type of phrase. And so I was like, oh, that's cool. Noah built a boat, not a sailboat, you know, but he built a boat. And so staying the course, you think about a ship and a boat. And so it came from captains who, when they were sailing to a destination, their sailors would go, hey, it looks a little rough ahead. I mean, they checked the GPS or whatever on weather.com, and they're like, it's not looking too good. I see on the radar, right? They didn't have all that, but they had other things. It doesn't look good. The seas are starting to get choppy. I don't know. And the captain would say, stay the course. We're going there, but it's going to be difficult. Stay the course, even when it's difficult. Don't you guys know? Have you not learned? If you haven't learned this, it's going to happen to you. There will be rough seas in your life. There will be times that it's going to be hard. There are going to be days when you're not sure you want to do it. And so what God is saying is stay the course. What Noah did was he stayed the course even when it was difficult, even when it was lonely. What I love about Noah is he started that way. He stayed the course before the boat, but even after the boat, when God said build the boat, he stayed the course. Here's how we know. Do you know how long it took Noah to build the boat? Most commentators think 50 to 75, you're waiting, days, months, years. Hello, how old was Noah, you're thinking? I mean, that's a lifetime. He was 500 when he started building it. You're like, huh? Well, you can read around these verses where God says, hey, after this, people are only going to live to a maximum of 120. It's kind of weird. It's like, that's actually true. Most of us don't live that long. But I mean, once in a while, you see, you know, on the Today Show or whatever, they're celebrating 100 years, and some people make it more than that. We eat so bad and stuff like that, right? I'm not speaking to myself, y'all, but I mean, that we don't make it very long. But I mean, that's about normal, right? So Noah had 50 to 75 more years in his life where he was working on this boat. And here's the thing, remember, his neighbors were not kind. They weren't like, we're for you, we're praying for you, we'll help you. No, what do you think they were saying? What you doing in your backyard, Noah? I'm building a boat. Why? God? God who? Come with us, man. Let's go get some wings. That's not sin, by the way. But make wings whatever it needs to be for you, right? Let's go get some wings. Okay, I think by then I'd have... See, Shauna and I just a few weeks ago decided we didn't want our kids in our bathroom anymore, and so their bathroom is being redone. Found out they wanted kind of a different look, whatever. So we've been tiling the bathroom. I'm talking about the shower walls. I ripped out a fiberglass shower, putting a new tub in, and then we're doing the walls and going to do the floor. We are about halfway done with one wall. And I'm not going to tell on her, but Shauna was like, hey, can we quit now? Like, just on that one day. So we're doing this together. It's a marriage thing. It's been wonderful. No, I couldn't have been doing it without her. It's been amazing. But we bought these little tiny tiles. Don't do that. Don't do that. Buy really big tiles. Right, babe? I'm like, what were we thinking? Look at all the grout that's going to go in there. Anyway, if you told me it was going to take me 50 to 75 years to finish that bathroom, I'd give in or give up to say, you call me up, you want to get wings instead of the bathroom? Yep, I'm in. Let's go. Wings, 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 right? Or whatever. I couldn't do it. Noah stayed the course. And if you came over to my house and were yelling at me from the yard, making fun of me for tiling the bathroom, I don't think I could do it. If you were texting me, you're never going to finish that, blah, 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 ha, ha. I could. Noah did it when no one else was supporting him. He stayed the course. He walked with God. He did, it says, everything God commanded him to do. Even when it was difficult, even when it was lonely. All right, a lot of great information. Let's talk about transformation. Heart. Anybody facing something difficult today? You're in the middle of something difficult? Anybody a little bit lonely? Even though there are other people around, even though there are Christian people around, even though you have a small group or whatever, anybody lonely? Because see, loneliness comes from the fact that you are the only one who can walk the path that you're on. Even though others support you and walk alongside of you and pray for you, they still go back to their lives and you still have your thing. You know what I'm saying? No one else can walk your path but you. So sometimes we're lonely because of that. Heroes are people who in the middle of difficulty, is it difficult for you right now? Heroes are people in the middle of difficulty, in the middle of the loneliest times, keep walking, keep stepping, keep moving. They stay the course, even when it's hard. I wrote this down as kind of the bottom line thought for me. Extraordinary results don't come easy. Most of us would say, and I said this a couple weeks ago, we're not made for a mediocre life. We're made for an extraordinary life because we have an extraordinary God. And I'll say the same thing again, but I'll add to it, those results don't come easy. See, we live in a culture where we want fast and easy. We want to get to the top real fast. We want to be the perfect Christian. We want to have the perfect marriage. And when we hit an obstacle, when it becomes difficult, when the seas become rough, when it gets a little bit lonely, we're ready to give up or give in to something that's going to take us elsewhere. That's going to help. It's going to cause us to veer off course. Extraordinary results, church, don't come easy. Man. If there's something I could say to young people, because we love young people in this church. We're all about you, the next generation. But you know what scares me about your generation is that you want stuff easy. Easy. You want it fast because you have the internet. You have instant access to information, but you don't have instant access to transformation. That comes by what I'm about to share with you. So it's not just easy. It's not just fast that's going to be what God, that's not the way God does stuff. That's not where extraordinary results come from. Extraordinary results come by small, faithful steps, especially when the path is difficult, especially when it becomes really lonely and you feel like you're the only one walking it. How you like that? You like that? That's just not a bottom line to like. It's like you don't want to tweet that. You're like, I don't know. Because what? You want easy. Right? We all do. We want fast. I want my results now. But what we learn from the life of Noah is you have to just be obedient every step of the way. John, what if I'm not obedient? Get back on course. Staying the course doesn't mean you do it perfectly. It just means you get back on course. Read Noah's story. He's going to mess up later, but he's going to get back on course. Noah stayed the course, even when it was difficult, even when it became lonely. That was Noah. But you know what else, or who else it was? See, Noah was just pointing to somebody greater that was going to show us how to walk faithfully and who was going to show us how to take every small step faithfully, even in the face of difficulty and loneliness. Noah, people in the Old Testament and the New are always pointing to the one hero that was to come with a capital H, the hero, Jesus. Noah is a precursor, a foreshadowing to Jesus. Jesus taught us this exact same thing, that it's the small, faithful steps, even when it is difficult and lonely. Can you imagine, I thought about Jesus this week, and I thought about how he was beaten, and how a crown of thorns, do you think that was difficult? Was pushed into his head, how he was beaten with a stick and made fun of and spit upon by those Roman guards, and how they then said, pick up this cross and carry it outside the city, and how he had to walk, taking every small, difficult step with a cross on his back, deciding, I'm going to stay the course. I'm going to finish the mission. I'm not done. I'm not veering off course. It's lonely. Nobody's with me. Peter, where'd you go? Disciples, where are you? They were gone. And Jesus took every step to get to that cross, to die, and to give his life for us. That's extraordinary. Yeah, building the big boat, that's awesome, incredible. But extraordinary is staying the course when it's difficult, and especially when it's lonely. I thought about that all week, and an image came to mind late in the week for me. Some of you have read The Odyssey. It's been around a while. It's not a new book. It is on Amazon, but it's been around a while. There's a character in it, Ulysses. There's a point in the book where he's on a ship and he's sailing with his men. They have to get somewhere, and they have to go through this really difficult place. There are what the book calls sirens, and they're like voices that tempt you and drive people crazy. And so often when people are sailing through this area, these voices, y'all have any voices that speak to you? And try to veer them off course, and some men jump overboard and drown. It drives them so insane. So Ulysses, you know what he says to his men? He goes, we're getting through this. We're going to stay the course. You know what he says to them? He says, take me and tie me to the main mast of the ship. And so they bind him up. They stick wax in his ears, beeswax actually, so he can't hear. And they tie him to the mast of the ship. Why? Because he knows that the temptation is coming. He knows it's going to be difficult. And so he has to be tied down so he doesn't veer off course, so he doesn't throw himself overboard. And I was like, man, what an image for staying the course. Tie yourself to the mast. But then you know what I was thinking? If you change one word of that, it makes sense for us. Friends, you know what I would tell you to do? Tie yourself to the cross. The cross is our mast. The cross is what centers us. And what we do is some of us have veered off course, haven't we? We've walked away from Jesus. We've walked away from the course he's called us to. And we need to be extraordinary. Extraordinary is not building the big boat, as awesome as that is. Extraordinary is walking with Jesus and staying faithful and staying the course, even when it's difficult and even when it feels like you're the only one doing it. And the way that you do that is you tie yourself to Jesus. You tie yourself to the cross. That's extraordinary. People who do that do extraordinary things in this life. Tie yourself to the cross of Christ. Jesus did. He attached himself to that cross to finish his course and to save us. We must tie ourselves to him.
Thank you so much for checking out our sermon online today. I wanted to personally invite you out here to our campus on a Sunday morning. We currently meet at 9, 10:30, and 12 noon. You can expect hot coffee, welcoming people, and an amazing kids ministry. But most of all, I just want to thank you for joining us online today, and we hope you have a great week.